You walk through the deep dark forest, flashlight in hand. Suddenly you spot someone or something among the trees in the distance. It looks almost like a person, but something is clearly very off. The weird proportions, the long arms, and is it lacking a face? This is where it all started. This is the horror of Slender the Eight Pages. Released in 2012, the original Slender game sits at the top as one of the most influential horror games of all time. While being incredibly basic, the game set a standard for thousands of indie horror games for years to come. The game is based on an infamous creepypasta simply known as Slenderman, but the game itself doesn't really have any dialogue or story, simply dropping you right in the forest and telling you to collect 8 pages. The story of this game was later explained by other media such as the sequel Slender the Arrival. But since it's not explained in this game in particular, I'll wait to cover it until I make a video about Slender the Arrival. So, what is the premise of this game? Well, as I just mentioned, the game places you in a dark forest with nothing more than a flashlight and the goal to collect 8 pages that are all randomly scattered around the map. As you do, Slenderman starts chasing you around the map, and each page you collect, his AI gets faster and more aggressive. Now, when I say chase, I don't mean that he's physically running after you the entire time. Instead, he teleports to you, and the way he catches you is if you look at him for too long. It's a simple premise, but if there is one thing popular indie horror games have taught us over the years, it's that simplicity usually is the number one thing that works. So, what makes Slender the Eight Pages so scary? Well, it largely comes down to the tension and ambience along with the disturbing appearance of Slenderman himself. Slenderman as a character, much like other horror icons, definitely suffers from being too popular. The overwhelming amount of fan art, memes, and alike has really ruined the scare factor over the years, and he's a bit hard to take seriously today. But if we try to put that aside a little bit, it is hard to deny that the original design of Slenderman was downright creepy. He really fits perfectly into the uncanny valley, looking almost human but something being incredibly off about him. The tall figure with his arms that are way too long and his obvious lack of a face make for a very imposing character. The simplicity of his design really helps elevate the unease and keeps him from looking too over the top, try hard scary. As previously mentioned, the ambience and sound design also really helps elevate the fear factor. When you first start the game, it's all quiet. Nothing but the ambient sound of the forest and the sounds of your own footsteps as you traverse between the trees. But then, when you pick up the first note, this loud sound really helps get your heart racing and not so subtly lets you know that something is now hunting you. The sound increases more and more for every page that you pick up, and it really manages to capture the stress and panic in you. Now, all in all, if we are being honest, Slender the Eight Pages really has aged like milk, and it doesn't really have much to offer for today's gaming audience. Even for its time, it is very obvious that all the Let's Players that played it really hammed up their reactions to make for more entertaining videos. But this game will always be cemented in history as one of the most influential indie horror games of all time, and it certainly deserves respect for its history. So that's why we should never forget the horrors of Slender the Eight Pages.